Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to the Symposium despite this difficult times. Before I start my talk, first I gotta thank my staff for coping with the situation and try to minimize the risk of any sort of transmission of this coronavirus. But I would like each of you also to take precautionary measures. Of course, the chance that someone sitting next to you has the virus is extremely low at this moment. Could be like buying a lottery ticket, but you can never be sure. Especially, we don't want people to get inadvertently affected because this virus is symptomless. So, firstly, the biggest precaution is to disinfect or wash your hands. So we put disinfectants in the lobby. You can find more in other places near the elevator. There are some by the facility downstairs. You can also wash your hands. And when I mean wash your hands, don't just wash it like that. Don't wash. Here's the right way to wash your hands. You wash the back of your hands. You rotate your thumb, and you wash between your fingers for 30 seconds. So you sing happy birthday to you twice, and that's 30 seconds, okay? So you do that. If you have a mask, precautionary measures, especially if you're not feeling well, but precautionary measures, you may want to wear them. And by the way, you may want to wash your hands probably during every break. That's what they recommend. You may also want to take liquid, because that'll wash down the virus in your throat. And as Sano-san said, don't shake hands, but do the proper greetings, bow. Right? That's the right way of greeting people. Don't shake hands, avoid contact. And also, if you're not feeling well, don't hesitate. You don't want to affect the others. You can leave. If you want to stay in touch with the conference, we have a Blue Jean connection point, so you can be isolated in the safety of your home, and you can connect by Blue Jean and still be in touch with the conference. So, again, the chance that you'll catch anything is confidence low. It's very likely you may catch influenza. That's probably much higher. But again, that's the same precaution you take. You wash your hands. You wash your hands. You wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Okay? That's the dark side of things. The bright side is you get to see the Fugaku outside of the regime of people who are developing it. You'll be the first public viewer of Fugaku in the world. So it's very good news that'll be done during the poster session. But we ask you not to take photos because there are some restrictions, but we will reveal a public photo later on. Okay? Oh, by the way, we will disinfect the microphones every time. Okay? So feel safe if you want to concern about asking questions. We will disinfect the podium mic and also the stand mic every time someone asks a question. Okay? So we take all the precautionary measures. But again, each of you also need to be aware. I saw a lot of people coming in without using this disinfectant when I came in the morning. You should. When you enter the building, you should disinfect your hair. Okay? So with that, my talk. So I will talk about Fugaku being the centerpiece of Society 5.0 revolution, and I'll tell you what that means in a moment. Oops. So let's skip the slides. So the K computer has been around for some time and won a lot of accolades in terms of the benchmarks and also lots of accolades in terms of the scientific results. So basically, it was a very successful machine. It was decommissioned August 16, 2019. So there was a big decommissioning ceremony August 2019, and it was a very emotional closure for our but Fugaku is not just a simple successor to K. So K was, the main focus of K was, there was some industrial usage and so forth, but basically to drive the basic science and to modernize the Japanese HPC. And in fact, did a great job in doing that. Japan was sort of behind, for example, the US in terms of going massively parallel, but K, being a very large parallel machine, allowed our scientists to adapt to the new realm of extreme parallelism. But it was not, but when you think about large-scale simulations, the results of these large-scale simulations are transient, as is with any scientific experiment. It doesn't matter if it's compute, it doesn't matter if it's a lab experiment, all scientific experiments are transient in that the chance of success is left to a scientific chance, meaning most of the experiments fail. Okay? So that means that when you have us conducting simulation, most of the results may not carry meaning. Of course, that's not bad, because that's what science is. Okay? That's what science is. And that's what it's supposed to happen, because you're trying to discover something new. So you try thousands of new things, experiments, and discover something new. That's the way science works, fundamentally. Well, when you have a very large-scale simulation, that may occupy a single machine, that may, then the chance of scientific discovery becomes lower and lower, because there's finite time on the machine. Okay? So that's why the impact of IT industry and society, there are positives, but also moderate. Again, I'm not saying this in terms of being bad. It's the way these things are designed. It's just like saying telescopes or large-scale accelerators may have moderate impact on society. It's the same thing. Okay? It's the nature of scientific instruments that does basic science. But Fugaku, well, is different. Fugaku, we're spending lots of money. Japanese government, taxpayers are spending lots of money, and we want more. We want basic science to progress, but we also want to have very high impact and return on investment to IT industry and society. Because unlike telescopes, which may last 30, 40 years, supercomputers by nature can only sustain itself for, let's say, 8 years. That was okay. And to ask for $1 billion or something in the magnitude every 7, 8 years, that's very difficult to sustain. Okay? So in order to preserve basic science, I bet that's what you need. So in order to preserve basic science, because we need these instruments for basic science, but we need to have more guaranteed impact to society. Okay? So that these 8-year, let's say 8 to 10-year replacement cycles can be justified. And the only way to justify this is to have very broad recognition that this is something that's really needed to society at large. Okay? That's the way it is. So that's why when designing Fugaku, unlike K, we, of course, because we need to achieve scientific goals, we designed it to be at very high peak. But also, in order to have meaningful impact compared to K, we designed it to have much, much broader impact, broad base of availability, applicability, broad base of applications, broad user base, academia industry, cloud startups, and the technology translating to the larger IT industry. And this is meaningful for society 5.0. And again, this machine being meaningful to society 5.0 is absolutely necessary, not just for the benefit of this benefiting our society, but also to preserve basic science. Because again, that's the only way we can sustain this investment cycle, very rapid investment cycle required to sustain basic science. Okay? So, in order to do this, of course, we designed Fugaku, and a lot of the technical details will come later in the talks. But with extensive code design, much more so than K, so that we broaden the applicability of the machine while achieving very high performance. So we chose 9 representative applications as target applications, and we set the goal to be 100 times speed up to 100 times speed up And that's why it's sort of exascale, because K was a 10 petaflop machine, and 100 times faster, meaning it's sort of in the exascale regime. But also, we stress the ease of use, and also this machine being part of, in fact, the pinnacle of a very broad software ecosystem. So designing something with no software was out of the question. Okay, it may be fast, but it's not usable. Okay, across a very wide region. So the result of this is we designed a processor, A64FX, which we will see soon, later on if you haven't seen it, which is HPC optimized. So that's the value, in that we get significant speed up for these types of applications, up to several times, and you'll see some numbers later. But also, being a general purpose CPU, it's an ARM CPU, and runs every sort of software that runs on ARM, including those on ARM PC. If you manage to install Android, I bet it will run Android except for 32-bit apps, because it only supports 64 bits, but nonetheless, it's the same ecosystem as ARM, which is billions and billions of chips. It also runs PowerPoint. So one of my, it should run PowerPoint, so one of my small projects is try to run PowerPoint as soon as we get good access to it. Right now, if I do that, people will kill me because people are wanting to do more simulation work, but I can run Wine and run this on Red Hat and run PowerPoint. That's my project. And also it's extreme power efficient. What good is a CPU if it's fast? Again, but if it wastes power. So being for sustainable society, we need processors to be very green, and we demonstrated that. And we aggregate more than 150,000 of them, and with all the other parameters, you can't say it's the first, some people may dispute, but I still claim this is the first regime of exascale machine, because it will demonstrate performance that we expected out of an exascale machine, back when we started talking about it. And while being that, it will accelerate not only HPC, but big data and AI, of course, besides the 5.0. And without going into details of the architecture, again, this will be presented later, the way we've done this is to design a processor to be, on one hand, a mini-core processor. On one hand, is a CPU. So it's a fairly good CPU. It's not like Xeon 5 with a very weak core. But each core is a full-fledged core. But we added various extensions to it with the help of ARM, so that along with Fujitsu, so that it's also a streaming it can behave as a streaming processor, much like a GPU. Very high memory bandwidth, very high throughput, data throughput, very high throughput in terms of the vector compute. Vector computation does, very wide vector lane, and the cache hierarchy designed to ingest and output data. And the entire memory system, in fact, is designed to support very high bandwidth and sustain high bandwidth. So in some ways, it's a CPU that has lots of GPU-like performance. It doesn't include the GPU inside, but includes GPU-like features in each of the cores. So, one of the first demonstrations of the value was to become #1 on the Green 500 last November. And many of you may have heard this. So we achieved #1, which was about nearly 16.9 gigaflops per watt, which actually is quite beyond our initial design target. Design target was more like 13, 14. But it turns out, Fujitsu was able to, along with us, fine-tune so that we achieved over 20% margin increase over the result design. But what's important is not so much it became #1. Of course, we're very proud of that. But it's not because, but being #1 is much less important, much less important than the fact that we're #1, which is the blue dot, on the right-hand side. Let's see all the orange dots. What are the orange dots? Orange dots are all machines that have specialized accelerators. Some are more general purpose, like GPUs. Some are not. Some are even more, have very little software on it. But they still demonstrate, it's been tuned to run LibPack. Okay? So, now you see there are no blue dots. Okay? So when does the first blue dot appear? The first blue dot appears in number 37. And that is that's how many, 35 how many type of light, but the real Xeon, that's still even an accelerator. The first one appears number 37. If we compare these type of light or the Xeon and number 37, we are 3 times more power efficient. 3 times. Despite this processor being a general purpose CPU. Okay, so it's like this. So previously, 3500 until now, if you look at, in fact, the history, it's been dominated by specialized architectures. Okay? So it's like it's like driving a supercar. So they're very fast, but you can't drive it to a supermarket. Well, you can, but you should probably damage the floor, like going with the buffer. So, but this time, Fugaku is like a Prius, okay? or something like a hybrid car. It's very power efficient, very easy to drive. Okay, very power efficient, very easy. Everybody can drive this to supermarkets, or to anywhere, to mountains. Take long trips, but it beat all the other supercars. In fact, it's 3 times more power efficient than normal cars. So it's like a Prius. It's revolutionized industry. In fact, this is not just a benchmark. So Fujitsu has been evaluating various benchmarks, like various popular applications, real apps, and you're probably familiar with many of them. If you look at these, they are up to 1.8 times faster per socket compared to Xeon. We're up to 3.6 times faster. On average, it's about factor 3 over a Xeon processor per socket. And what about power efficiency? Well, it's up to 3.7 times faster, more power efficient compared to Xeon. Again, across all the applications. Again, this is an ARM processor that runs PowerPoint, but it's 3 times more power efficient. Okay? When you put these together, more than 150,000 nodes, what happens? What is the equivalent to? Well, also, because I get asked this question, you say 150,000 cores is very powerful, what does it mean? What's the capacity? Well, when you do the calculations, it's about 20 million times more powerful than your ARM device you may have in your pocket, which is your smartphone. 20 million times. And what's 20 million? Well, that's about 2/3 to 100% the number of smartphones sold entirely in Japan over a year. Or it's equivalent to about 300,000 IDC servers, which is again about this, per annual sales, and close to that. So all the servers sold in Japan, including the ones in your closet, to the ones in the cloud. So Fugaku in one machine encompasses practically all the compute in Japan, either at the edge or at the data center or servers. By the way, it's a year's worth of computing power. And by the way, so it's the same for DOE exascale machines, for UAV, because compute power is usually proportional to your GDP. So US GDP is about 4 times that of Japan. So when DOE machines are brought up, they're about 3 or 4. Okay. So I bet you that you'll have very similar numbers for DOE exascale. It's a year's worth of computing in the US, all DOE exascale machines put together. And again, while being ARM, not just being ARM, we run standard Red Hat. Okay? Or the Cray version runs standard SUSE. And it has a acceleration. Okay? None of those existed in K. And of course, we fulfill this 100 times speed up over apps, but that's Ishikawa-san will talk about that later. In terms of software ecosystem, it runs all the standard software, there are multiple compilers, multiple libraries, and also the cloud tools, the AI tools, and also collaboration with DOE in terms of package management. So we're pushing very hard to enrich the ecosystem, but of course, for example, the problem with K was there was only one decent compiler. But this is a compiler, and sometimes that was not very decent. But now we have like 5 compilers, and all of them are decent because everybody uses one compiler. Okay, C++, notoriously difficult, and a lot of things don't compile on a given. But this time it will. There's very high chance they will find one compiler which will do the job. That's it. This is exactly the same as in. And this is being productized as Prime HPC X1000. Here's the announcement of C. In fact, the first deployment of this machine, and as hardware-wise is 99.9% done. The first deployment of this machine will actually not be us. But it will be Nagoya University, and they'll bring up the machine in July. So people who want public access, you can get access at the Nagoya University Center in 4 months. 4 months now. Okay, so that'll be the first deployment at scale. I mean, there are some experimental ones, but first public deployment at scale will be at Nagoya, and that'll help people. And also, it's been announced again at SC that the Cray will adopt its processor, but its own software environment, Cray's software environment on it. And they will be in collaboration with Fujitsu. So that's the blade. It's air-cooled, but it will run the Cray software stack and run SUSE. So if you have a Cray machine, then this may be also a very reasonable choice. Okay? So that's Fugaku. But what about Society 5.0? Okay? So there will be lots of talks about simulations and so forth. And the ensuing talks, I'll skip that. They'll be given by people and also by the speakers. But what about Society 5.0? So this is a slide that's given by the Cabinet Office. I'm sorry it's in Japanese, but us being all civilized, I'm sure you can read that. Okay, well, at least you can see pictures. And it's a standard scenario. So you have, aging society, you have manufacturing, you have a medicine, you have the internet, you have cloud, and you want to solve that. You have solve problems like energy, environment, and so forth. And Society 5.0 aims to tackle that by the advanced use of IT. Okay, so that's the goal. And the listed there are a set of problems it's trying to solve. So I'll just translate to you things like energy, food supply, well-being, or medical care, well-being, solving international quarrels, and trying to resolve the economic diversity of people, and have a sustainable industry. All these goals set by Society 5.0, in fact, turns out to be almost exactly the same as the goals that were set for Fugaku to solve, especially the 9 target areas that I mentioned. The 9 areas are largely their medicine, pharmaceutical, environment disaster, energy, production, transport, storage, and manufacturing. And also, some of the society problems are in some smaller projects. So again, the goals of Society 5.0, to begin with, are in line, compatible with Fugaku, what Fugaku is trying to solve. So, condition 1, are we compatible in terms of direction? Yes, absolutely, we are. Absolutely in line. But how to solve them, okay? It's not just with simulation. The Society 5.0, the standard model is, from transcending from each individual application to be accessing the cloud visually to have all the IoT sensors. You analyze with big data. So you have your physical space, you have the cyberspace, and you have an AI. You do real-time analysis and handle these data incoming, ingest data streams. Big data. Well, when you look at this picture, physical versus cyber. My first reaction is, so how do you implement these in cyberspace? You do that with a whole bunch of Python scripts? Well, to some extent, yes, but how do you bring your problem into cyberspace? How do we do that? Well, that's exactly what we have been doing with simulation. Simulation is bringing real world into cyberspace, right? So, and also, and then we transfer that to AI for immediate response. And like I said, we have a year's worth of compute in Fugaku, and these are general purpose. In fact, compatible with the edge devices. So it will be no-brainer. In fact, it's an obvious conclusion that we employ Fugaku to solve society 5.0 problems. Both as an IT infrastructure, but also all the simulation capabilities we have, and also processing, including those of AI, including big data. It's an obvious conclusion. And to say they're separate is totally absurd. Okay? So what we're trying to do at R-CCS is to, of course, we need to, I must stress that we do need to preserve aspects of the machine to do basic science. That's absolutely necessary. Because again, without that, we won't advance the society. So we will do that, we'll carry over from K, we will facilitate the machine as it used to, as they were with K. But we also will have new missions to cater to Society 5.0 applications and rapidly deliver tangible results. Tangible, in Japanese we say, okay? Deliver tangible results immediately to society. That's what we need to do. If we do that, we'll solve the world's problems, we'll be thanked by everyone, allow us to continue allowing us to support basic sciences. And we have a perfect machine, a perfect team of people to do that. So, in fact, the IDC traffic, Society 5.0, or the days of IoT, things will dramatically change. One thing that will happen is that north-south traffic, is that current internet is basically being more content delivery network. I mean, those people, or at least your kids, watch probably YouTube more than 2 hours, or Netflix or whatever, probably more than 2 hours a day. Okay? There used to be watch TV, and we still do for older, 2 hours a day. Now kids watch YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, more than 2 hours a day. And they're able to do that because the internet is designed as a content delivery network. Okay, so it's downstream, north-south traffic is concentrated, while the cross-traffic within a data center is moderate. And techniques like caching in the middle works because you're replicating the same data over and over again. People compete for getting more hits on YouTube. People compete for getting more hits on YouTube, okay? To become YouTuber. In fact, there was a very interesting questionnaire sent out to middle school kids. What do they want to become when they're kids in Japan? The Japanese kids, school kids. And number one was actually IT engineer. So, wow, okay, yeah. Lots of talents coming into our field. Well, number 6 was YouTuber. So, that goes to show how much cultural grip that has taken our kids, okay? But this whole scheme of CDN, complementary network, has very low affinity with the way we do science, okay? Because in science, we don't replicate data everywhere to the large masses. So that's why, to some extent, supercomputing or simulations or big data AI, scientific AI, so forth, have been less affiliated with the mainstream IT infrastructure because it's not catering CDN. But the whole thing will change. The society pipeline, you have sensors everywhere. You're supposed to. And it's supposed to be analyzing in flight because there's just no way of storing them. We'll be overwhelmed by data if you try to store them and do post-mortem analysis. You have to do real-time analysis, okay? There's no way we can grow the storage fast enough or the network speed fast enough. And you need to run analytics everywhere. Also, you need to run very heavy analytics at the center, at the edge, but also at the center, because not only because what you're trying to do with analytics, you're trying to compress the data into features, important features, just like taking a picture of the house and deriving a blueprint. Okay? But what do you do with the blueprint once you start doing real analysis? Well, you need to recreate the house, okay, virtually in cyberspace. The only way you can do that is to compute. So we'll be doing tremendous amount of compute, okay? And this compute, this simulation, will AI-driven science. Indeed, any of those tasks require considerable HPC. And their caching will no longer work because it's all different data. But we need to do compute everywhere. And this kind of scenario has very high affinity with the way we do science. Okay? So that means in the coming days and age, another reason we use Fugaku is coming days and age of IoT, Society 5.0, the way the internet works, the way we need to process data, the way we do compute will be compatible with what the society will be doing. Okay? No longer will be the mainstream. Okay? And a lot of guys in data centers just hack your Python will be out of job. Well, could be. They make them, but they don't have the skills. Okay? Very different days, very different times. We'll see the dawn of very different times of IT infrastructure, and we'll be at the center of this. And this is a summary. Internet now. Outgoing edge, outgoing data stream to incoming data stream. So the entire infrastructure, despite the fact we'll be processing data, we'll be handling data, will become from being data-centric, meaning there's a flow of data, we'll just have a big pipe with data flow, to one being compute-centric. We need to compute to throw data away. We'll be computing repeatedly, doing doing compression, feature analytics, feature selection, recreation in flight, and also at the IDC, replacing data with compute. We'll be replacing data with compute. That'll be the new IT. Okay. So this whole models of physical world cyberspace and sensing analytics actuation is the idea. Okay, but what do we do? How do we do it? Okay, so it's edge analytics and all that. But we can't do that with very heavyweight simulation. Okay? You realize stuff in cyberspace. It's just too heavyweight. We can't recreate everything. So we need to reduce the cost of compute in a very fundamental way to allow not just analytics but actuation. So how do we do that? Well, for that we need to train AI, or we need to have surrogates, or we need to have reduced models. And this is a figure I borrowed from Yoshi-san, one of our PIs. So we have the physical world, we have all the sensory data, they're the big data. And through AI and HPC, we do simulate, or we may have surrogates, and we need to do a simulation. We need to do various things inside of machines, also in flight, to reduce the cost of compute, such that we can handle the ingest data. Okay? Because just simulation alone will not cut it. And this is one thing work we did with the Italians when I was doing Tsunami 2. This is diagnosing your cardiovascular system. And there's a great simulation. You can do a CT scan of your arteries, and you can do very precise analysis of how the blood flow with red cells and so forth. Similar simulations have been done for okay. And appeared in the program, TV program, way back in the past when one of the patients who had a heart conditions was saying, oh, this K is great because it may allow to solve my a medical problem. In fact, this one won the Gordon Bell Award, not the main award, but sort of constellation, honorable mention. Again, this is a fantastic scientific result. But when you try to apply it to a medical practice, each heartbeat, which is required to do an analysis, takes 48 hours on Tsunami 2. And when you do the various math to adjust it to like Fugaku, and also to have adjust the various parameters, the cost of using the same technique, let's say on Fugaku, will be about $25,000, even if one dedicated for this task, is more than $25,000 per patient, which is prohibitive, or it could be more, probably more than that. There's just no way we can use a full-fledged simulation every time to cure a patient. Okay? So large-scale simulations are beneficial, and it's also fairly predictable, and results can be used broadly, of course, when you try to do scientific discoveries. But again, most science require repetitive experiments. So what we do is for practical application, not to discover something, but to apply HPC to Society 5.0, we need to be able to reduce the cost of compute. We'll replace data analytics, data with compute, but the compute itself needs to be reduced as well. And this is one work being done by Tsubokura-san, one of our PIs. And he's working with automotive manufacturers. And what he's trying to do, he has really detailed, one of his main work is have this fantastic methodologies for creating meshes automatically and then being able to do very accurate CFD on car models or vector CFD for acoustics and so forth. So that's his main line of work, but what he's been trying to do recently, and you may hear about it, is to actually use AI, again, to reduce the cost. And there are two ways, two methods he's investigating. One is to have a neural network and train the neural network with simulation to arrive at a surrogate model. Okay? It's a neural network that's a surrogate model that's applicable. Okay? So if you do things like design space exploration. So once you have a good design, you re-simulate it. But to do design space exploration surrogates, the pretending to be simulation, as in AI, is sufficient. That drastically reduce the cost of simulation. The other way is to use AI to reduce the model, to go from high resolution to low resolution. If you go to low resolution, again, the cost of compute goes down dramatically. And this can be done, again, to tie up physical space with cyberspace in real time. So he's trying to do that because for example, to do design space exploration, given some requirement, but these requirements are multivariate, meaning there are many points you want to optimize, and this leads to multivariate or Pareto optimization. So no one design is correct. Okay, it's not that you have one correct design, but you have a Pareto front, which is the optimization point, but you need to pick one. In fact, the humans need to see all of them. So with the same optimization, you can have fuel-efficient design or wind shear resistant design. And these are all correct, but these are all optimized with respect to what parameter you want to emphasize best. But in order to do that, you need to investigate all those points. And you can't do that with heavyweight simulation because it's just too costly. But a surrogate model is sufficient to do that. Okay? And so there are similar sort of experiments being done by other PIs, smart cities and high-performance computing, this Ito's slide. Again, he does combining AI, multivariate analysis, but he analyzes results of simulation using AI to try to come up with the best evacuation plan. Or Miyoshi-san, who's a weatherman, he does this very accurate. He tries to do not just the accurate simulation of the weather, but also he tries to combine it with surrogates or reduced models in order to do the effective real-time data, big data simulation to do very accurate prediction of weather, and this will be applied to as an experiment at Tokyo Olympics. So all of these efforts are ongoing, and we need to cater to these on Fugaku and other supercomputers by providing an effective platform to do this. So all these efforts are great, but we need platforms too. We need a platform too, so that people can implement these readily and easily. Okay? And so we have to have these facilities for people to effectively derive surrogate models, effectively have incoming ingest data, effectively tie with the edges, tie with the other cloud infrastructures, or run cloud-based applications. All these allow people to throw away data, replace them with compute, but replace the compute with surrogates or reduced models in order to drive society 5.0 applications. Okay. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. And we also need to be able to reconstruct data from reduced model or reduce data, the full data from the reduced data, the opposite direction. So for that, we have several efforts, and this is, not all of them. We are coming up with some new ideas every time, but here are some of the major efforts we are doing or trying to start up. So Fugaku being ARM, that's already, of course, in flight, as I explained. But it's not just ARM as a hardware, ISA instruction or processor, all the software ecosystem around it. Okay? Things like virtual machines, things like containers, things like package support, things like compilers, libraries. Everything that will, but also have them be connected to the edges and allow them to be effective by 5.0. Things like the languages like Julia, Python, all the cloud languages like Hadoop, and so forth, which is related to the cloud. So Fugaku Cloud, the third bullet item, is we're trying to facilitate cloud services with the help of our commercial partners. So we solicited projects to the cloud vendors. Do you want to partner with us so we can bring your cloud services on top of Fugaku to provide cycles to these experiments, cycles to not just academia, but the industry, who, along with partnership with academia, want to implement these Society 5.0 services at a much higher level compared to what they can do in the cloud. So we solicited, and 8 vendors responded. 8. So we have now 8 cloud vendors of various sorts that are starting to work with us to implement a variety of cloud services on Fugaku. So it's not just us doing it, it's in partnership with the real cloud vendors. Of course, we need AI. So we're trying to implement PyTorch, TensorFlow, so forth, and I'll also have intermediate layers. We're supporting ENNL, which is x86 based one to ARM SVE. We'll try to port Optimum libraries and layer them with RIKEN and so forth. And just a collaboration with Fujitsu, us and ARM will be joining. ARM is joining. And this is, again, to have optimized libraries such as AI, especially deep learning, such that these services can be combined with simulation. Also trying to bring in live data streams. So it's not the intent of Fugaku to archive data. That's being done with some other efforts. Like Satoshi mentioned, there are other efforts for people to preserve data. Our intention is not that, but our intention to allow people to develop applications to capture real-time data, ingest data, or simulation data that looks like ingest data, because you need them to train AI. Or you need to have a virtual world, like virtual smart cities, you need to do these virtual tests. So that you need virtual sensors, and you need to handle the handling. So it's our intention to support real-time, multivariate incoming streams from a variety of sources, such that people can develop Society 5.0 applications. So here's a cloud, and again, we're working with various cloud vendors. AI, of course, we have AI acceleration features, and besides that, a lot of people now do parallel training or even parallel inference, and because of a very high bandwidth network, you can scale these up quite a bit. So we signed a MOU with Fujitsu late last year, right at SC, to do extensive development of underlying layers and also optimizations for AI frameworks, such as PyTorch and Tesla, which, by the way, is not very trivial. It's much, much harder than you think. And you gotta give credit to companies like NVIDIA, Intel, for putting brands, years worth of work optimizing these libraries. It's very, very hard. But we're getting there, and we hope to have the first release of the software by March. In fact, we already have some preliminary releases. If we can unleash the power of Fugaku on AI, here's a chart of the various infrastructures we have in Japan. Okay, so you have, currently, most of the public infrastructures in AI are, compared to, let's say, Oak Ridge Summit, there's only like 1/5, even if you combine all of them, like including ABCI2, which all have to build. But when Fugaku goes online, and if optimized AI frameworks can run on top of them, then we expect to have the biggest and the fastest AI infrastructure, at least until the DOE machines come up, but biggest and largest AI infrastructure in the world. And beyond that, we still be very, very competitive. Finally, I'm sorry, this is partly Japanese. We also somehow, I have an English slide, but I forgot to bring it. But you can see the picture. There are lots of data. We'll have object storage, we have file-based storage for very large-scale data. We have various tools, we'll facilitate various tools to ingest them and also be able to store them for a certain period, such that they can be subject to various analytics and also combined with HPC. So we'll have common system tools and storage areas and try to come up with a unified metadata, well, at least some sort of unified metadata structure to facilitate these data. And most importantly, these data be made to all the users of Fugaku, not just exclusively to a single discipline or a single project. We want all these data, weather, energy, traffic, network, internet traffic, and so forth, all these data to be assimilated into one place so that people can come up with novel Society 5.0 applications, federating these data, combining them with circuits that have been trained in a very, very novel fashion, in a way that's unthinkable. Novel applications in Society 5.0. And the only way you can do that is not just to allow compute to happen, but allow these data ingest to happen. Okay? And make them available, again, to all the users of Fugaku and beyond, to other our partners. That's the only way. Okay, so my time is almost running up now. What's beyond? So, if we're successful with all this, okay, successful building Fugaku, which we're almost there, successful deploying by doing all the basic science, which we will do and support. successful in Society 5.0 support, hopefully, we're working on it, like I said. Then we wonder what's next. We'll get more support from the industry. We'll get partnerships. We get partnerships not just within Japan, but also abroad with various technologies. We'll go for the next generation. Well, the next generation is hard because, as we all know, the Moore's Law is curtailing. It's not ending yet, but it's curtailing, and at some point it will end. So we really need to make a switch, wearing our basic research hat. We switch from this older mode, which we have, even Fugaku is basically this architecture. We have a whole bunch of nodes, processors, loosely, but at least compared to the memory, it's loosely interconnected. And all the software stack to application assume this underlying hardware infrastructure. Okay? Hasn't changed in many years. From that, we need to go to heterogeneity, while still being preserving the software ecosystem. We need to go to more novel compute. We may need to go to more novel compute paradigms. We may need to have new devices, not just within chip, but outside the chip to interconnect them. And also, maybe some novel compute models like neuromorphic, quantum, and so forth. And we must have the underlying physics, the devices and so forth, but we also must have new software bases to cope with all this. So it's a very long effort, although the change will be coming rapid. So that's why we need projects, again, national projects. Now, Fugaku would not have been, were not for them being a national project, Fugaku would never have happened. You say, of course, but that's not what I mean. Without this national project, a processor like A65X would never have been developed. 3 times, again, if I reiterate, 3 times faster than any other competitor standard CPU. This would never have happened. I asked my Fujitsu friends, will this have happened if we're not for Fugaku projects? They don't know what. National projects, we can take risks. We can federate people. We can federate all the talents. We can from all the way from academia to the industry to users. And we can set these bold directions, like the ones I presented to you. Okay? That's what national projects are supposed to be. They're not just product development of a company. You leave it at a company, it's very hard for them to innovate, take risks, especially Japanese companies. But that's why Fugaku is so novel and continue to. But the next generation will need to sustain that. And right now, we have some basic research going on. This is one exemplar, which is sponsored by NEDO, which is sponsored by another ministry. But they're trying to come up with basic technologies to achieve yet another 100 times speed up by 2028. Okay. And we're looking at various elements to see what are the elements needed. How do we achieve this? What are the new devices? What are the new compute models? Okay. So how do we integrate them? I mean, in fact, how would the applications look like? Okay, how to achieve 100 times speed up across applications, not just for compute-centric, not just for bandwidth-centric, but across application portfolio. How do we achieve 100 times speed? That's a ongoing project right now. Okay, with that, I'd like to end my talk. And again, I must stress, wash your hands. Disinfectant outside. And don't shake hands. Okay? Bow. And thank you very much.